ahead, slowing down and making no time. I gotta keep it rolling. Those in the windshield wipers slapping out the tempo, playing perfect rhythm with the song on the radio. I gotta keep it rolling.
Oh. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the Rideshare Rodeo Roundtable. Every Thursday we do this. I know a lot of you are with us every week, but for those who aren't, we always have a lively discussion. We talk about some serious topics. We have some fun topics, and sometimes we make light of them. I actually had an audio podcast listener email me who's been listening since late 2020, not when I started the podcast, but about 4 months after it, listens to every episode. And they were asking about some of the humor in one episode specific. They're like, why were you laughing at the one thing? It's like, it wasn't like, I had to explain that it wasn't like that. And I actually had to go back and look because I was like, wait, I do need to understand, because I remember I knew what they were talking about, but without seeing it. And because I put it out on the audio podcast too, there are sometimes you need to see what we're doing, maybe for the audio landscape. I'm just saying, when I went back and watched it and I was like, oh, okay, I could, and then I kind of turned my head and just was listening. I was like, okay, I could see how that was taking long. So please understand that on Thursdays, we are just all playing off each other and talking about different things in the gig economy. So sometimes if we do it a little humorous, it's because it's so outrageous that there's just no other way to do it. But let me go around the horn and welcome everybody. We got Mr. Tom Kelly from Tango 3 Media. We got Mr. Gary Middleton from Gary's Apps. We got Tony the Driven Dad. We got Bud Soda. We got Dana from Boston, which is going to be a topic here tonight too. And in the middle, we have Cheyenne, Gig Work Mama. She is the coordinator tonight, I guess, so we put her in the middle. But you guys, before we get into before we jump into any of this tonight, and I'm gonna play a video here. And first, before I do that too, I also want to say today is D-Day. So to Gary's son and to anybody who currently serves or who has served, thank you for your service. Just another day to thank people for their service. So, but I want to play this video. It's a 3-minute news clip, audio, and I took some screenshots to go along with it. And it kind of leads us into the Boston, a Colorado thing we're going to talk about, and a little bit of Seattle before we move into a couple other topics that are very important topics going on right now. So let's check this out first.
Senators are demanding answers from Uber Eats, Doordash, and Grubhub following reports that illegal immigrants are getting paid as delivery workers on the apps, allegedly by piggybacking on the accounts of current employees.
But each company is pushing back on the accusations. Grubhub saying, quote, account sharing is completely unacceptable on Grubhub and will result in immediate termination. Uber adds, all couriers who deliver with Uber are required to hold a valid right to work in the U.S., pass a criminal background check, and be over the age of 18. DoorDash said there is no place on the DoorDash platform for those who can't or won't verify their identity.
Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn is one of the lawmakers leading the charge on this inquiry, and she joins us now. Senator, good morning to you. So tell us about this effort and also your response to those delivery services.
Yes, indeed. One of the things that has concerned us is that you have those that have illegally entered the country who are beginning to piggyback on these accounts. And of course, this came to light when you had the illegal alien who had been granted parole status, who was delivering food in New York, commits a crime, leaves, goes to Athens, Georgia again, delivering food, and he then kills Laken Riley. So we know that this is happening. And one of the things, Carly, that we've paid so much attention to is how these cartels are beginning to find ways for people they're illegally bringing in the country to work, because these people have to pay back the cartel for their fee for getting into the country.
Senator, do you feel like, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, do you feel like they want to prevent illegals from working, or are they complicit in this because it allows them to operate more widely?
Yeah, Pete, one of the things we're trying to find out is exactly what is happening and what is their participation, and have them exercise that authority that they have, that contract with anyone who is working for them. Now, if they are turning a blind eye to this and they are allowing people who have not been vetted, who are not of proper age, to be out there working on someone else's app, then they've got to clean this up. The other thing too is we do not want consumers to have people coming to their door, making deliveries many times late at night, and giving them the opportunity, someone illegally in the country, the opportunity to case people or to watch or to cause harm to American citizens.
Well, I do know, because I live in Texas, it doesn't seem quite the same. I don't know what it's like in Tennessee. Pete and Senator Blackburn can address that. But if you're ever in New York City, it is blatantly obvious what's going on with these delivery services and how it's staffed by illegal immigrants.
So that's the illegal immigrants part. Then there's the illegal account holders part. And then I think we segue into what's happening in Boston right now, and not just the legislation in Massachusetts that's trying to force everybody to be W-2, but also what's going on in Boston, especially now in the bigger cities around these. If you saw that big group of motorcycles, that's the storage facility in New York for the migrant centers. That's how many they use per day in New York that they're giving for free. So I don't know, Dana, what do you got? Because I've been reading all about this Boston thing. I did a piece on the audio podcast this week. What is your take on this Boston mayor Michelle Wu and this like crackdown on the at least start with the motorcycle part. If you know much about it, like all the expired tags, we see that in all the migrant cities. We see that on the cars, on everything. It doesn't have to just be a motorcycle, but on the mopeds and motorcycles and e-bikes and stuff, it appears like there's not even registration. It's not expired. It's just not even there.
Yeah. Well, in Massachusetts, we have kind of like a finicky rule as far as how they register those mopeds and stuff like that. But there has to be like a registration sticker on it. But it all started with actually the police commissioner in Boston wanting to crack down really on the way they're operating on the road. Not just expired tags or just unregistered, scooters and motorcycles and mopeds, but also just how they're driving on the roads and putting everybody at risk. So that's how it started. And then, of course, the mayor got behind it because I'm sure in other parts of the country as well, but Boston, all over Massachusetts, a lot of cities are facing kind of like trying to find ways to raise some revenue, and by cracking down specifically on a lot of these like drivers that are using the mopeds and stuff, this is a way for them to generate more revenue. Really, I think that's probably what it really comes down to as far as why they're cracking down on this specifically, because they know for a fact they can raise a bunch of revenue from issuing citations, which is essentially is what they're going to be doing. They've already made that clear that they're going to be issuing tickets. And then depending on certain statuses of whether the person may have been an illegal immigrant or riding those motorized vehicles without a proper license or whatever, they can also be criminally charged in addition to any monetary citations they get.
Okay. Somebody's got a negative. Who is it?
Wasn't me. My mic was muted.
It's gone now.
Let's blame Tom. We'll blame Tom. It sounds good.
I was muted too.
So
Okay.
We go now, yeah.
So
effectively what they're saying is they know that these drivers are using these vehicles, and it's kind of misleading because it's not just going to be delivery drivers. It's pretty much anyone in the city that's using motorized scooters and stuff like that they're going to be cracking down on.
That's my point there, right there, is that this is going to cause, unless they're just going to turn cheek to the migrant issue and all that, this is going to cause almost an end to that.
It might. And Boston is actually over the past few years has been notorious for having these like points of like interest where they're going to focus on for a while. So like last year, it was bicyclists, and they were issuing citations to people on bicycles that weren't following the rules of the road. So all of a sudden, all over Boston, bicycles were like running stop signs or going through red lights, and they were getting pulled over by police and getting tickets. And they were like, "Whoa, what is this?" And the city was saying all along they were going to be issuing citations. It's kind of like they're doing the same sort of messaging around the motorized scooters and stuff now too. Just saying they're going to be amping up, cracking down on not following the policies in the city.
Yeah, I think they should. I think it's crazy that a lot of states don't actually require like e-scooters to have a motorcycle license. Some of those scooters go 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Scooters, yeah.
I mean, some of the even just not even the mopeds, the scooters go that fast.
Well, technically they're not supposed to. Like in Massachusetts,
well,
if it goes over, if it has the ability to go over 30 miles per hour, which they pretty much all do, but if it has the ability to go over 30 miles per hour, it's supposed to be registered as a motorcycle, and you're supposed to have a motorcycle license. If it goes under 30, then you can ride it as long as you're a permitted driver in the state of Massachusetts. You don't have to have a license necessarily.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. So I read up on that a little bit. They're saying even the mopeds and the stuff, the scooters, not just bikes and e-bikes, are running red lights, hopping curbs, going into sidewalks in heavy pedestrian areas, and that's where they need to have traffic and
one way is the wrong way.
And they need to have, people actually at the intersections where it's been noted to be a problem and enforcing it. They have traffic divisions and police departments, I know, and actually enforce the rules, because it seems like they're more focused on the revenue versus the safety, at least as far as around even here, but we just mostly have cars. But as far as that goes, that would also help eliminate some of the people that are out that shouldn't be on these falsified accounts and stuff. And then as far as that goes, that is even a problem here. They can't get on this military base, but they're taking a lot of orders elsewhere. I'm finally seeing it where I am. So to stick your head in the sand and say this is not a problem is ignorant. This is a real problem. I can't say all of them are illegal, but when you're doing shady stuff, hiding your phone, and then you're aggressive toward any people at the 7-Eleven or the restaurant workers, it says a lot. Your body language and your actions say a lot. Even if there is a language barrier and you can't even speak much English, your actions say a lot about the kind of person you are. And even the American citizens who are using multiple accounts, come on, man, clean this crap up. And as far as identity verification,
I want to make sure you touched on before you go any farther is because, look, this is to anybody using illegal accounts. Yes,
exactly,
is it a little different when it's the migrant situation? Probably not as much to many cities, but like for Dana and Boston, for me in a migrant city, we have now become, I just read it yesterday, and actually I'm going to share with you guys here in a little bit some things that our governor, who normally would never do this, has done. We've become the #1 per capita city for migrants.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of articles about Denver.
We are #1.
Yeah, they're a sanctuary city. So, anyways, what I was going to say is, as far as identity verification on these apps, like you guys said in a previous conversation, they're giving you a bundle with all the identity, and they're giving you all the photographs of someone who looks similar to you. It'll pass all that, and even I'm on these Facebook groups. I actually read a lot of them, unlike you do, Steve. I know you stay away from Facebook. I see a lot of them, and when I'm waiting on orders, I scroll through Facebook, and I'm on both phones doing that, and I see a lot of people getting caught up who are legit, saying I can't pass this identity verification for DoorDash, Uber, Instacart for a little bit, but it's mostly DoorDash and Uber's system that sucks. I'm pretty sure they use the same one. The one that Instacart and Rodeo is another older system that seems to be better. But innocent people who are legitimate get caught up in this, and they got no recourse because when they do, they contact support. I got lucky and got a real person to actually manually do my identification, but most of the time, all they do is keep pushing it through the auto AI. My buddy who also does this had to they finally do teleconferences where you don't have to go to the hub in person. You can just Zoom call them or whatever. It's I had to physically go to Philly and get them to override me because identity verification that my face is not real. That's literally what it said. These apps know, for the most part, who's legit, who's not, and they use it as an excuse to get rid of some of us, as Driven Wild made a video on, and then they use it to, look, these people over here, they're kind of doing us a favor. Let's pay that no mind, and let's put out this PR press thing all together where it was all it was at least DoorDash and Uber together coming out saying, hey, it's cool, we're fighting it. Bull crap.
Yeah. I think that a lot of pressure is just coming down, no matter what, this is a bipartisan thing now, whether they want it to be or not. So everybody has to at least take the blinders off and go, yeah, we know that's a problem. It's not as bad as you've said, but we'll acknowledge it now. But I think that as they do that, they're going, whoa, this is a lot bigger than we remember.
So on the customer end, they can report that it's not you. I've had 5 of those now. And before the show, I showed everyone on the screen. I got the bar across my screen saying your account's at risk because you're being accused of account sharing. I had to make 2 separate phone calls because I got the inbox message I saw 2 hours after the fact, and then I also they gave me the bar across the screen right after I got off the phone doing that. And then the next time I went online, they did the picture. I passed. So it's what is it? And people are using it to be fraudulent and get free stuff. And this is a known thing. I was reading on Reddit and online a little bit. It's a known thing for Walmart Spark and Uber Eats. It's a big, big problem. So again, people like me and whoever else who are legitimate are getting targeted, but yet all these illegal accounts are just kind of swept under the rug. I don't understand. So that's why I'm actually not for the identity verification on these apps, because it clearly does not work.
Well, Gary and I used to talk about this all the time. I mean, they had facial recognition going in Europe when they were saying it doesn't work. It was running at 68% efficiency. It was Microsoft software. And they're it doesn't work in low light at night, near sunset. It's bad with females. It's bad with people of color. I was well, okay, so it was running at 68% efficiency. I'm that's a D+ at best.
I remember reading something because London's the most surveilled city in the world. They have cameras everywhere, and they have facial recognition software at most of them. So most of the cities covered with the facial recognition software. I can't remember exactly the grade, but I knew it was low. It was either a C- or a D+ or something that they gave them for how bad it was at actually recognizing the real criminals. Because the identity verification, the facial recognition missed the actual criminals who are going around robbing these jewelry stores or whatever, but yet they picked up the wrong people as other criminals, and those people weren't even near the people who were being criminals. They're just everyday ordinary people. It's so there's long ways to go. We're a long ways out from having that technology be good to have at least 4 out of 5 versus, and the same thing for all these delivery automated drones and all that stuff. We're a long ways out yet.
I mean, I got thrown off.
Facial recognition. I got to interrupt you guys. Facial recognition.
Here we go.
The ones that the states and governments use and all those are 98% accurate. If you guys didn't know that,
I was going to say I would have guessed that NSA and stuff. But that's way more expensive.
Right. Well, I just heard him say the ones on traffic cameras, things those work.
Right, TSA. I agree.
The ones on your phone are crap. I'll just say that. The TSA ones, the NSA, government stuff like that, their facial recognition is pretty good.
But they also have multi-cams that hit you from 2 different angles at the same time, and if it doesn't give a direct match, it knows it's off, so it runs other things. And
I want to say it's a 22-point face thing. It's not like the ones on our phone that look at your eyes or your retina or something. Like the ones that those use have like so many points on your face that they got to match up to be correct.
Yeah, they're using between 22 and 40 points, where the ones on our phones maybe use 9. Now 9 is still a lot. 9 is a lot. And
But
it's
if it's running 68, 70%, it's not enough.
But I would challenge that the number is much higher now than it was. But
It might be. This was a couple of years ago.
Yeah. But they still have issues with it.
Yeah, of course.
And they're not there yet. And there are entire populations where it's not working as well. And it's a growing part of the technology right now for sure.
And I will say, light-skinned people, the technology is better for light-skinned people than it is dark-skinned people.
That is correct.
But I mean, them telling Bud Soda, don't shave your beard off.
Well, that's. I don't think that will matter because I've shaved my whole face before.
That's what I was gonna say. Like Gary's got he's riding that same thing too. I've seen him shave.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, my picture looks nothing like me whatsoever.
Well, they told me that because they had to manually override the system.
Yeah.
They were like, "Hey, we meant to do this favor for you, so don't ever shave."
Yeah.
I'm just messing with you, bro.
It could have been that your picture that they have on file was very old too, because if you uploaded a picture in 2017 and now you're trying to use that same picture in 2024, you're going to be different.
2022.
Okay, it shouldn't be that different then, because I know my pictures. By the way, my pictures are the same one I believe that Steve put up, which are from like 4 years ago at least, and they still work. And I mean, I can go shaved, unshaved. I can have a hat and glasses on, and never have an issue.
Yeah, I've had the mullet since August of 2019. So,
but so Gary, here's what I would ask you: Why wouldn't they allow you to go in, do your facial recognition, and then say if you've like hiccuped with it or anything before, say I want to redo this?
Well, because you don't actually do a facial recognition with these apps. You don't.
So I just had to do one with Instacart a week ago.
But you don't do a full You don't do a full one. Instacart's actually better than probably all of them that I've seen.
Yeah, because you turn
your face and they actually.
Rodeo does it too.
Points. But like Uber, Lyft, you take a head-on picture. That's it.
All right, but so like let's say with an Instacart one, if I was starting to like, even if I didn't have a stolen account, but I started to notice, hey, wait a minute. Why is it having like half the time it's not working? I got to turn the car light on or something. Could I go take a new pic? Why can't I just say, okay, here, now I got it logged in. I'm going to retake this because clearly I did it in bad lighting. Something was older.
I've had them tell me that I'm in bad lighting before.
Right. But I'm saying like maybe I'm in good lighting, but maybe the picture was in bad lighting. Now the software is improved. And now it's like, well, wait, we don't know that's you. And it lets me on half the time. And I got to screw around with this.
Like the thing is you don't actually go into the apps ahead of time and scan your face.
No,
you don't. It's like whenever you sign up for these apps, they don't go, "Oh, let me."
Right. Yeah.
No, some of them ask for pictures. I don't think I've ever uploaded one for Instacart ever.
I just had to do it 2 weeks ago, and
it was just
they've done it since I started.
No, I'm not. I'm an actual picture. I've never had to upload one for them to compare it. For previous, because I mean I've been signed up for Instacart since 2016, and I've never uploaded any picture. The only thing I've had to do is the facial scans. So I'm guessing that what they probably do is the very first facial scan you do, that's probably what they're comparing the rest of the facial scans to.
I actually think they might be comparing it to your license ID picture.
Oh, that's what DoorDash does.
I haven't uploaded my Instacart license since 2016.
When DoorDash comes up and they make you prove with your actual ID, and then they compare it against that. And my problem with my ID, like even if you do update it, there's also still problems. I'm clean shaven and 20 years old in my ID picture.
When was the last time you just had to upload an ID? I mean, besides Lyft, I've never had to upload my ID except for the very first time I signed up for these apps.
Yeah, DoorDash will do it randomly. It can be once and done.
That's part
they-
of the reason we talked about the
they can ask
packages
once a
you can
month.
buy last week, where you can get a license, a social security, and the person's credit score, and you literally get all of them hard copy.
So basically, yeah, that's one of the things I've been seeing on Facebook. Some people have been getting asked once a month to upload their identification, and they're locked out of their earnings and from using the app until it clears. So that can be anywhere from like a few hours to days on end. So like I think one person waited 15 days, they said. It's like there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Say if you have to upload that much, something's wrong with your account. Something's not legit.
Or
I'm thinking-
again, it's running it. You're in that. Maybe let's say, like Tom said, it's gone up to 80, but maybe you're still in that 20% that's just like, dude, I can't tell if this is matching or not.
I don't know how many people order food off the DoorDash consumer app, but is there an option in there somewhere to report that you don't think your driver is the one in the profile?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It is.
Okay, so like
It's in
because they
all
don't tell us as Dashers that, unlike what Uber and Instacart do. So maybe that's the issue, is why they keep getting
that's what I'm
hit,
saying.
because the
There has
customer's
to be-
claiming that it's not them to get free food.
Right,
It's a known
that's
scam.
There has to be something else. It can't just be that their facial recognition didn't match or something. It has to be something else associated with their account that's making them scan so much. You know?
It's a consumer scam. I've had it happen to me 5 times since I've been onboarded.
Right. But see, that's different than saying that something's wrong with the software. That's completely different. That's something wrong with the reporting system itself. But
Yeah, well-
here's the thing. Unless you're getting the same repeat customers over and over, or you just live in, I guess, New York, because all New Yorkers tell me they have this issue. So New York's a terrible state for gig work because they like to do a lot of fraud there. But unless you have that issue,
That's all of you, New York.
yeah, I mean, every time I hear about the problem, it's always some New Yorker telling me.
Well, I work Fort Drum area, so people PCS in and out, and it's like when you get a big batch of newbies, you get the minority, under 10%, who end up being the problem people, and until those people 1-star you and report you, and you get them all weeded out of the system, and they don't get matched up with them anymore, it's always an issue when people come in and out. So that's when I run into those kind of issues. And a bunch of new people just came in. A bunch of people just came back from a deployment. I haven't had any problems with most of those gentlemen. God bless Fort Drum. Thank you for what they do. I love those guys. But it's like when the new people come in and they are being ignorant about it. It's always the ones who you find out that it was all base bait, kind of thing.
Well,
So I
what
want
I'm
to
getting
ask
at
Cheyenne
is-
though,
hold on,
because
before
she's
we
in
move on.
Canada. I know that they do it up there. I don't know. I mean, again, I used to say that like Gary and like I saw somebody in the chat was saying that I think they said they've never been facial checked by DoorDash. I hadn't been until last December. But I mean, I do barely use it, but now I use it like once or twice a week for like scheduled shifts. And when I do, it's like from December, January, February, it was like every other time it was checking me. Now it's not checking me as much.
Yeah, but that's because you went from not using it at all to using it very frequently.
Yeah.
And so
Okay, so so if I use it 4 times, I could be like, now it's good, man. Here, take my account.
yeah, you might be able to until the facial recognition stops. I mean, but again, that's not an issue with the software.
Right.
This is what everybody wants to blame software. The software
It's
is not
too bad.
facial.
It's too bad. And Gary, you'd be the one to know this. Why it just can't be connected to. And I wouldn't want it to be Checker, but for example, Checker has a real facial recognition that they submit to the apps. The apps can then square it up, but it's listed once, and you can always go in and check, just like your Checker review. You know what I mean? Like go to the Checker website and say, hey, and like check your face. And if it says, no, it's not you. And you're like, okay, I got to fix this.
No,
You do it
I just think
like
that
a
the
Checker.
first time you sign up for an app, they should do like Instacart, get a full facial profile from you, match that facial profile to your driver's license, and then they can continue on from that facial profile that you originally took onward, and it'll come up, I'd say probably 95% or better all the time.
Right. Well,
Yeah, I get it on Instacart and Uber. DoorDash.
For
I
how
never
long?
get the facial. Well, so Instacart, I would say once a month, once every 2 months.
No, but I mean, for how long has it been out? Or how long ago did you have to do
like
this?
since like always. I've always had to do facial recognition on
there we go again.
Instacart for sure, 100%. Whenever, especially Instacart, whenever I'm not on it for like, let's say, you know, a few weeks or whatever, when I go back on it, right when I sign on, they're like, okay, facial rec. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Like turn your face and everything. Uber.
How often does it fail?
It never failed for me for Instacart.
Uber and Instacart do it
Uber
multiple
has
times a
failed
day
for
in my
me.
market.
John, so you live in New York, though.
Yeah, it's like the norm, though. Like, everyone says they have it. So, like, I talk to other people, you know?
You can't condemn the whole state, man.
That's a huge state.
Yeah, Uber
Can't do it,
Like,
dude.
I
verifies me. They do twice a day on me on Uber.
Twice
I know
a day on
Uber.
Uber?
I've
But
had
that-
it.
but let's-
I've had
let's
it 8
probably be
times.
But let's be specific. That's probably more because Tony does rideshare.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's probably because passengers are trying to report something, or it's not my dash, or it's not the one that matches the profile. Tony looks sketch, or whatever.
Or the passenger who's about to. I've always thought things like this. Even the passenger who's now summoned Tony to come pick them up, and he's on the way. Their last ride, they had an encounter and had to report something.
Right. Yeah, that's what
So
I'm
they're
saying.
saying, okay, let's make sure
I don't think
Tony's
the
Tony
problem-
because this passenger had a bad experience. But then in my mind, it's like do it every time or do it every
Right,
half
but
hour.
I don't think the problem's in the software. I think the problem's with their reporting system.
Yeah.
So
I think
they
it's
do it
just
to me
randomized on
whenever I go
Uber.
To the airport, it's so ridiculous. I'll go to the airport and then you can't rematch because they're like, "Oh, identify," and they wait till you get moving to do it.
See, that's when you
Always.
should call them. And
Oh,
be like,
yeah,
really?
they do that a
You
lot.
don't know I'm me, but you just let me drive somebody to the airport.
Uber is
dare you.
always while you're driving.
Oh yeah,
They're like,
they
"Oh,
love
we're
to
gonna
do
get
it.
that- We're going to get to that in 1 second.
And
And
then
I
they
do
tell you
see-
to pull over.
Pull
And then
over
and
so
then
you can take a
talk- And then I
picture.
want to say hi to the chat, but also in the chat, I do see that Go Gigit is in here. By the way, Dana, he is also in Boston. I don't know if you saw that, but he's in the chat, and he's in Massachusetts as well, and he's speaking on some things. But I do want to move into this because this is pretty cool. This happened yesterday. Most of us know her, even if you weren't here. You probably were aware that we did the town hall last year here in Denver with Stephanie Vigil. And her bill SB 2435 got it didn't get passed, but she is a House of Representatives seat holder from Colorado Springs district, and we got a senator to come to the town hall as well as many gig workers, and that was the person she was not syncing up with. Well, we all met her, we all talked to her. Stephanie definitely leans a different way than many people I know on a lot of topics, but it's odd because for somebody that I'm just telling Tony this, for somebody that has her passion on a lot of topics, she really is right up our alley with what she wants. And yesterday, Jared Polis, our governor, signed, and this is the same guy who him and Mayor Mike Johnston have been letting all the migrant situation happen. But Governor Jared Polis signed 2 bills into law yesterday. They are Colorado Senate Bill SB 24075. So it's got SB 24 and then just a different extension than Stephanie's original bill. This was brought to the floor by Stephanie. It had support, but it's usually brought by a senator. It was brought by her. And so here is where I'm just gonna walk you guys through the bullet points of this. So here's the Denver Post headline from today. More protections for Uber, Lyft, DoorDash drivers in Colorado as Jared Polis signs the bill. So here we go. More transparency is coming for Colorado delivery and ride-hail drivers. Governor Jared Polis this week signed 2 bills into law that will mandate more extensive disclosures of ride details for drivers on platforms such as Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash. SB 24075, dubbed the Transportation Network Transparency Bill, mandates ride-hailing companies divulge how much of the ride's cost will go to the company versus the driver. The bill also makes sure drivers know the destination and expected compensation for the ride before they accept it. Lawmakers also sought to address driver deactivations, which advocates and drivers have said can be arbitrary and unexplained. And this is a side note here, is that studies have shown that immigrants and people of color are far more likely to be booted from their jobs. So there we go again with that might be facial recognition, who knows, but there we go. That's always the disclaimer. Women, night, day, morning, men, people of color, people who swim. It's like, why don't you just say everybody? Because it really, I have this feeling you don't know. But anyway, the state, as part of the bill, will certify a driver support organization. Sounds unionish to me. I have not got to the bottom of this, but I will say at this point, next week on the podcast, I do have Stephanie Vigil. She is my guest, and we're going to go through the whole thing. So it's gonna be good. Check it out. Last year, the deactivation language that she had in the first bill prompted significant pushback from ride-hailing companies and sexual abuse advocacy organizations. Now, the companies had to be in with pulling them in because the argument was that the law could force companies to reinstate dangerous drivers. Really? Hold on a second, guys. Because, I mean, come on. That is literally the ride-hail companies just going, we got nothing else, man. Just say that it might put sex predators back on the platform. Because that should be more than easy to go, wait, no, he's out. He doesn't get a recertification. That was a sex assault, or until that is heard in court. But that's what got it to stop. That's what got a couple of the other people behind it to push down. The 2023 bill would have created a state-run review board to oversee cases in which companies booted drivers following complaints. So I do like that part, that it's not state-run. So I don't know what this driver support organization is, though. It sounds unionish, and I did not have time to dive in too far. HB 241129, titled The Protections for Delivery Network Company Drivers Bill. That's the other one he signed into law, but it doesn't have as much. So seeks similar issues of the delivery driver side. Drivers will also see a new internal deactivation challenge procedure on their apps, which will help them get reconsidered meetings for a review. The bill will give drivers at least a minute to decide whether they want to accept a delivery task or not. I already thought it was a minute. Sometimes it's not, but I already thought
30 seconds.
Whatever. So
depends on your market.
To me, I'm more concerned. Why wasn't that in the rideshare part?
Rideshare is 6 to 8 seconds, depending.
Right, so rideshare 3 seconds, but we won't talk about it. But hey, we're going to make sure that they give you a minute on those orders.
Plus, we have more information to analyze now, so it's like let's give less time.
But my question. Let me just finish through this. The bill. So delivery app. This is Stephanie's quote here. Delivery apps have made big promises to Coloradans, including flexibility for workers and more choices for consumers. But too often, hidden algorithms interfere with the worker autonomy that drivers in this industry so highly value. Representative Stephanie Vigil, a Colorado Springs the bill sponsor from Colorado Springs, said in a statement and then to get back on the quote, this new law will improve transparency and fairness in Colorado law to provide drivers with the information they need and deserve to make free and informed decisions about their work. Unlike last session, lawmakers this year opted to split the driver protection into two separate bills. Advocates and companies say the procedures facing delivery companies are not the same as the ride-hailing platforms and should be legislated as such. So basically, I want to give a little applause to everybody. Gary, Tom didn't make it. Bud Soda wasn't able to, but I know you guys were all there in spirit, big time. And I know you even thought about coming. Everybody, and even Dana, I don't think he was going to make it out, but every Cheyenne, everybody was behind it. I think a lot of you watched it, but I'm pretty proud of us now, because basically what they did is exactly what they said. And my concern was they were going to go after other things, like what Minnesota did, make it $1.60. There's none of that crap in here. It's a transparency law.
I know Kim's not here this week. She had a big discussion with the senator there. Priol is, I can't remember his name.
Kevin Priola.
Oh, by the
Thank
way,
you.
I was there, Steve.
Yeah, Gary was there. Me and
Gary was there.
Me and Tom were. But what I was good.
Oh, Gary wasn't there.
So what I wanted to
Gary was
clarify is
there.
like
He ran the camera.
there's extra protection for rideshare, ride hailing. Is there just overall protection for food delivery and grocery and all the other apps?
They have
or is it just limited?
So they're both limited. But I'm glad about that. See, I think I think all these legislations jump in too hard and go after way too much and either chase them out of town,
I agree,
things
yeah.
up. And
I'm
honestly,
hoping.
Go ahead.
I'm hoping the review goes to like the bar and current sitting judges, and then they just got to compensate them like they would when you're asked to go to court.
So the state, as part of the bill, will certify a quote unquote driver support organization, which can help drivers dealing with deactivations. Now, this is not, I am familiar and have met with the Colorado Union Group through Entree Courier Ron. If you guys know him, shout out to Ron. But I have met through him those people, and they are they're not as hardcore as some of the union people in Minnesota. So I've had discussions with them, but they're still very union. They still want to see things eventually go union. If you guys have ever been pitched by unions, like Dana's probably been around union crap more than anybody. Massachusetts, I was having Mike Harubi explain it to me, and he lives in Massachusetts too. And he's like, this is the toughest state to understand it. And like, he's like, a proposal on a bill can have like 11 choices, and really there's only 2. But there's 11 options to pick those 2.
Not the CFW over here, the Commercial Food Workers Union. They're really after Wegmans over here, which can affect us because they are on the catering side. So it could be really bad news if they get their tentacles deep in. And as far as everything else is, I don't want unions. I think they should just pick independent people who have the legal knowledge to do this. So just like you have to pick a special lawyer, you can't have just a normal public defender because it's too high profile. Or even if they're just overwhelmed, what is that word called? Where they have to like grab just a normal lawyer or a judge or whatever to help with someone's case. I think they should just do that per se. I think that is. I don't know what they call it in Colorado. I think they call it per se here. So if they just do that,
is that what you're talking about?
It's not public defender. If they pick an actual lawyer, like just one who runs a normal practice, and they give them a straight rate.
But see, right. But then you're going around the whole arbitration clause, and that's a whole different battle.
But they will literally be part of the arbitration because these people actually know what the heck arbitration is.
Well, luckily, again, for those who missed it, next week, Stephanie Vigil will be my guest on the podcast, and she will explain exactly, because I did talk to her quickly on the phone. She said, this is a win. She said, here's how she put it. It's a huge win for the rideshare game. It's a better win than I thought for the delivery game.
Figuratively speaking, you could have like a Judge Judy type situation for deactivations. Is that an easy way to think about it? That's what I'm saying.
Who picks these people?
That's what I'm. Well,
yeah.
it says
We'll see. I'm very interested in that live.
One paragraph. The state, as part of the bill, will certify a driver support organization. So who is the state going to certify to pick these people?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is it going to be like people that actually know about it?
Well, the other bill that
Tom, I know you don't do rideshare, but come work on this panel.
Yeah. I think they should have people from all different sorts of walks of life. Like, here's someone who does food delivery. Here's someone who does rideshare. He's someone in the legal profession, and those should be the people kind of running that.
I agree. So since we don't know, though, again, the whole next week's podcast will be just dedicated to this bill and talking to Stephanie, who wrote it. So applause to Stephanie, applause to everybody who was involved, even those who didn't make it, because literally there was a lot of support in this community for that event, whether you were there or not. And there were some people saying this will never do anything. Something was done. Who else?
So the only
State can say that. I mean, like even the states that are going through things right now, they don't have groups like what we did here to make sure it stayed on track and didn't get too off track and stayed with just, I mean, all I kept repeating to people was, dude, transparency. But how much do you want to be paid? Transparency. Show me everything. Take away. And in my world, show me everything. Don't have an acceptance rate. I'll never complain about the app.
Yeah, another hurdle we got to cross is from this one and the voiceover you're playing. They're using such employee language, like, you know, it's like, oh, here's this big employer hiring a bunch of illegals or whatever, or they're using employee, worker, and they should say contractors. That's something we need to get the media on board with.
I mean, we have wait till I've had Stephanie on before. Wait till we have her on next week. If you guys have seen Stephanie before, I know on the first one, people are like, dude, she was so to the left and hard. I mean, like, no matter if you're left, right, whatever, she's extreme left. And yet she does fall in the middle. She's pretty cool. Like, and I'm saying that because like, she really does vote on the issue per issue. She might lean to the right on something. That's very rare, Democrat, like a genuine human being.
Yeah.
Let's have her on. She'll describe that more to us because obviously I just wanted to bring it up as like, look at that win. That's a huge win.
Steve, that's transparency on both sides, right?
Yep.
And
customer gets the same thing on the bill in the app that the driver gets. You will see you'll see line items deducted by the apps. They can't even just put a total anymore. They have to put service fee, this fee, we're board fee, we're board 2 fee, we're board 3 fee. Like they have to put all of them. They have to put everything in there, and they have to show what the driver made and what the company took.
If we could get it to where that happens in this blue state of all states, and all of a sudden the other blue and purple states, so like think of the swing states in the elections.
Well, so
they can look at this and they can be like, wait, we did the wrong thing. Look at this legislation over here, and hopefully it causes a domino.
So you're segueing into what we're at. So we'll pause with that because next week we have her. So Tony's going to tell us now, and then we'll move into a couple other different topics. But Tony's going to tell us what's going on in Seattle because we've been talking about it. We know, but even there, we've been talking about how the restaurants have lost millions of dollars since the beginning of the first 3 months of the year, not even to now. Order volume is down to 60% year to year in just the city of Seattle. Restaurant prices are up, delivery fees, the $4.99, everything. So Tony, what do we got to know? Because everybody that wanted it, it's different than the other states. Everybody that wanted it, everybody now wants it gone. And now they want it gone in different ways. But what did you take away from that article?
I took away a couple things, like DoorDash and Uber is mainly calling out for DoorDash because they got a comment from Tony about it, and not Dara.
Right, but it was basically based. I mean, a lot of it focuses on Uber Eats and DoorDash. Yeah,
but I feel like there's more leaning on the DoorDash side of things because Uber is also doing the rideshare law, but basically they raised the rate way too high, and then on top of that, DoorDash was like, "Oh, well, we're gonna charge you guys since you voted for this $5 per order, basically." In addition to whatever the other cost is. And then I think the restaurants also had to increase the prices. And so it's just a giant increase of inflation prices in addition to regular inflation. So people aren't ordering. They'll just, I'm assuming, go pick it up themselves or just work directly with delivery workers.
Yeah, I don't know, Tony, if you heard me. I don't know if you heard me say before you go any further about the chicken kebab from whatever it's called. It starts with a W. Now I'm drawing a blank. There's 3 of them in Seattle. They're $9 in the restaurant per skewer of this whatever the chicken thing is. This is pre-fees, this is pre-tax, this is pre-tip, and this is pre-delivery fee. All 4 of them. But they're $19 per on DoorDash. So they're 205.8% for just the items. So if you went in and bought 5, you would leave for $45. If you buy 5 on DoorDash, you're going to pay what? $95 plus fees, plus delivery fee, plus taxes, plus tip. So you're gonna be paying about $125-$130 instead of $45. That's pretty huge.
200%, basically. That is insane.
And the $5 city fee for Seattle. Sorry.
So I know in Minneapolis, in Minnesota is having similar issues, and they want to back down from what they were doing. I was just reading, like, it came up as I was sitting waiting on an order today. So I think a lot of these places, and New York City included, they're looking at this legislation that they're trying to push, or they did pass, and be like, this isn't working, and no one likes it. Like, nobody. The apps don't like it. The drivers don't like it. The customers don't like it. Restaurants don't like it. It's like, what the heck were they thinking? Because unlike Stephanie, these people don't do that. They didn't get the input from most of the people on the ground. They only got the input from like the very limited minority who are screaming, "I'm making $8 an hour. We got to raise to $12 an hour in very expensive cities like Seattle and New York City." So it's like, what's the difference? It's like you can't even live on that. And then the people who were doing great, all of a sudden they're not. They're making 20s at best in these cities that are super expensive to live. You may as well go work at the McDonald's that's hiring for $22 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, because it's automated. But I found it kind of interesting that we'll do $18.82 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I was gonna pull it up just so I can be with you here.
Yeah. And
so they're gonna
like,
basically what
why?
Tony's saying is the old standard that the city council passed, which is just failing across the board, is that for active time you would be paid $26.40 per hour. The companies have said they will remove the $4.99 regulatory fee from the orders that they literally put as a line item to the customers. They will remove that if the hourly fee is reduced to $19.97.
Yeah, well, and it's just insane because at the bottom it's like the state is adding a fee as well. It's like 10 cents per order to fund some like committee, like what apparently is going to be put together here in Colorado. Which that's why I want to know how are they going to pay for this in Colorado? Because
it's less than 10 cents or less is not like $5 per order. 10 cents is like a line item on your phone bill.
To me, though, it's hypocritical, though. You know,
fair enough.
You can't add a fee, but we can.
Yeah, and here's the thing, so that we can we've spent so much time on just the legislation part. I want to get to a couple other things, but here is the thing about that I think anyway. Everybody can please jump in on this one. $26.40 per active time. That they're saying they're willing to go down to $19.97. If that happens, they'll remove the $5 regulatory fee on each order. We all, I think, can go by some people in some rural markets, maybe you can get 3 done. But in a city like Seattle, I've been there many times, I don't see how you could do more than 2 dashes in an active hour. I don't think that would be possible.
How are they going to do this with tips, though? You know,
but here's what I really want to point out. So if they're willing to do $19.97, okay, so that basically means that they are saying, like, listen, come down almost $7 on the active time part, and we'll remove the $5. Here's what I think. They'll remove the $5 on the 2 orders per hour. That loses them 10. And so now they're paying 7 less for the active hour, and they're going to add 5 to 10 more anyway in fees.
Yeah, well, and
they're going to bring it right back up to where it was.
Well, they're going to hide at least $3 somewhere, because that's where they're losing.
There was no information given in that article about how they're handling tips. Is this 19 something an hour pre-tips?
Yes. That it's like a Prop 22, Tony. It's like it's for the active time. Take the tips out.
That's where Stephanie's bills. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that as long as it's not that, because then if it did include the tips, it would be kind of
No,
like
it doesn't.
what old
It doesn't
DoorDash
include the
was.
tips. It's like an earn by time. I mean, but
That's
in
where
my opinion, it's like an earn by time too. They're going to find ways to manipulate it and say, "Hey, listen, man, sorry you only made that. Well, my 2 orders only had $1 tip. Yeah, I know. Like somehow
the
they're just going to
algorithm will
balance it, so you're
send
just not I mean, look, guys, this algorithmic gain is no joke.
I think that's where Stephanie Bill shines, because she had the foresight to say, hey, you have to be transparent with what that fee is for, what's going to the driver, what's keeping the company, and why you charge those things versus these other muck messes like you were talking about in Seattle, New York City, and Minneapolis and Minnesota. So, I think that if you're actually just transparent, okay, we're charging $3 for this, we're charging $5 for this. This is just our straight up delivery fee. This is what's going to the driver, and this is what the tax is. This is what you're being charged. Boom.
And we'll dissect that whole thing next week. So I do want to,
Go ahead.
before we move into Tom's story, I do want to ask Dana though, in Massachusetts, now that we've talked around all this other stuff, in 1 minute, explain everything going on in Massachusetts. I'm just kidding. No, but Dana, if you could just in a quick breakdown, like your opinion of now compared to these other crazy things going on, what is your opinion? Because Dana, by the way, guys, I know many of you know Dana from being on this podcast or maybe even from his or whatever, but he's been on here a number of times. He's done gig work as long as me. He's done curry as long as me, oddly. He's one of the only people that's been doing curry for 3 years. So what is your feeling now that I know that you like run the school board and stuff? And by the way, congrats. Last time Dana was on, and Tom, you were here too. I don't know who else might have been here, but remember he was running for a school board position and he was afraid he wouldn't win. He won unanimously.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So
Now make the changes.
no, fix our schools,
Already made
man.
some huge changes in the past couple months.
Or
so.
at least stop the insanity.
But what is your view on Massachusetts right now, gig economy, come voting time? Because as Mike Harubi was saying, you guys, the way you vote there, and every state's weird, but the way you guys vote especially, he was saying, is just crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of unpredictable right now. I mean, we're getting the question back on the ballot about, whether or not gig workers should be employees or not. I'm seeing a lot more ads now pro transitioning gig workers to be employees, and I'm seeing less pushback from the other side. Whereas, when we were supposed to have this question like 2 years ago, it was very heavy on the pro remain independent side. And I think the opposition's a lot more organized this time. So it's kind of unpredictable on which way it could go. I mean, I'm hopeful that we can remain independent, but it really depends on how much the general public buys
let me
into
put it
the
this way,
propaganda,
because
really.
Dana and I talk about this all the time. So the AG became governor. She's very, very much pro. You all need to be W-2 and just shut up about it.
Yep.
All of you, just shut up. You shouldn't even be allowed to vote. Shut up and just be your W-2 self and just shut up. She was the attorney general. Now she's the governor. It seems like the whole state kind of gets placated by that a little bit, but I know that this has been up a few other times too. Do you feel this year or this time round it's different? Do you feel like there's truly a chance?
I feel like this time we're going to have a definitive answer one way or another this time. I think in November we're going to have a definitive answer on whether or not Massachusetts is going to consider gig workers employees or whether they'll consider them independent contractors moving forward.
You don't think it'll continue?
I think November is going to answer that question, and I think whatever the voters decide on the ballot question, that's the way that the legislature is going to reframe the law.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary though, because they basically want like a double down on the Prop 22 if we stay independent kind of thing. So either way, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
And I know Massachusetts, like, has anyone here ever seen Trevor's Deliveries? Dude, I know the market over there is golden. Like, there's really fire money to be made, and that could just come to a screeching halt. So you get like an awesome market like the Greater Boston market, and they're going to take and just yeah, we don't care. We're just going to take a wrecking ball to it. And that's the ignorance on their part. They don't understand that. It's like we could literally just show them one of Trevor's videos where he goes on in one of these crazy challenges. And it's like, dude, there's money to be made out here. Please leave us alone. Leave us alone. Just leave us alone. And
yeah, well, it comes
just
down
put
to
in protection for us.
If they think they're not getting their share, like they can say, yeah, these drivers are going out and making all this money. Well, we're not getting our share of it. They think they're not getting their
I know.
end of
They
it,
want their ring
on the
kissed.
tax.
I know.
Yeah. So they
Our
think if
governor,
they're
our AG, same
W-2s,
exact way.
if they're W-2 employees, then they can get all the tax money they want out of it, basically.
Cheyenne,
Yeah,
what do you
like-
think of all these laws so far? And I saw a comment from Traveler saying Cheyenne was being quiet. No, she's got a little thing coming up. We got Tom's got a story, Cheyenne's got a story, and I'm going to ask Gary one question here at the end. And that's what we've got left. But what do you think? Because you don't live in the United States. What do you think when you hear us talking about all these different states and the different ways? And I mean, if you live in one place, you're only going to have to follow that one. But we do follow them all here because. And you're involved with talking with us about it every week. But what do you think about these that are actually landing? Do any of them sound like good ideas to you?
No, nothing. But like, this is the thing that I don't understand. I get it that you guys are all like in different states and everything is governed by whatever state that you're in. But then what happens, let's say to like a driver, well, I guess it's based on the state where you actually reside. Because I'm like, what about someone that's like, just traveling through? Like, how does that affect, let's say, how they're going to be paid? Because I remember, I think it was Pedro when he was talking about, he went to California and he did one ride and he got Prop 22 for that ride, but that's not where he lives. So if that's the case, is that the same thing for all of these other states where if you're driving through, then you're going to be affected by all these different rules?
Yes.
Like
you followed the laws of that state.
Yes.
Even if you don't reside there, right?
Yes.
I guess here's my take on that. If too many states, like it looks like is happening, start passing this stuff, they might start saying you can't dash out of your state.
This is what I'm wondering, because then that's just going to be a headache trying to like consolidate all of that, especially at tax time. Like,
well, that's actually how it used to be. 2014, 2015, you couldn't go work in another state like you can now. You had to submit it to Uber, and Uber had to do a background in that state and everything like that, and then move your markets, things like that. It wasn't as easy as I'm gonna drive to Louisiana and work. Like right now, I can go there and change my markets on, I think, every app. I can work there except for Grubhub. I think all the other apps I can just go to any other state except for like special states.
Rideshare gets a little
It's
sticky
not hard
too,
to do
though.
Grubhub.
Like Rideshare, you could be in New Hampshire, pick somebody up, drive them to Colorado, and not be able to get a ride back.
Right. It depends on the states. Depends on the states though, because
Right. See,
like I can go to I
Like
can go from here to Georgia.
Can't Rideshare outside of New York.
Yeah. So I mean, it depends, because like some states also require like vehicle inspections. Florida does not, so I don't have to do that here. If I go to New York, New Jersey, or somewhere like that, Philadelphia, I have to get a car inspection now. So there's different rules like that.
Yeah.
That's
But
just
Traveler
makes it so
just traveled the whole United States again, like he did last summer, and I'm sure he tried in a lot of states. I mean, like, so literally being from New York makes it so he can't do rideshare anywhere.
Yeah, that's why we multi.
I know what Gary's talking about. There was a time when, as weird and old school as it sounds, you could just call in and just say, "I'm going to be in Arizona. Can I do this?"
Yeah, you just call them ahead of time. You say like, hey, whenever I lived in Oklahoma, I'd call and say, hey, I'm going to Florida, and Uber would be like, okay, and I'd tell them what day I'm going to get down here, and then they would just do my background check, and then by the time I got down here, I could drive down here. Whenever I went back to Oklahoma, I have to call them again. Hey, I'm headed back to Oklahoma and changing my markets. Like it was a pain in the butt.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tom, what's going on with Lyft?
Well,
By the way, guys, if you missed last week, Tom's doing rideshare again. So
yeah. But I wanted to follow up with, I still wanted to hear Shannon talk about the Canadian tax thing because
Yeah. I could totally talk about that.
okay, yeah. Well, that she was gonna, but okay, we can do that first.
So one of the articles that Steve popped up was talking about the Canadian tax, and I know we've spoken about this many times.
In fact, we've
and-
joked because Dana, if you probably didn't watch, Tony, I don't know if you saw it, but when we first talked about this one, it was weird because Cheyenne's like, everybody found out they have to pay taxes on these gig apps. I'm like, some people don't pay
I was
all
here
of
for
them,
that
but
episode.
we all know we have to pay them. She
Yeah.
acted like the whole damn country was like, wait a
Like,
minute. I got
it was
this letter
insane.
saying I got to pay taxes on all these gig app work.
It was insane. The amount of comments that I had on that video was crazy. Like, what do I do? I got emails. I got like messages on Instagram. Like, they found me on Instagram. I'm like, what?
They're like, quit
Guys, this
talking
is
about
not
the
new.
tax secret. And
You know, that used to be my favorite saying. Is my favorite time to do gig work was at tax time, when everybody found out that they had to pay taxes. They're like, "Oh, I ain't doing this then."
Exactly.
Right, but this
Well,
year was the year that
They
they really
onboarded
introduced
here.
that you have to connect your.
Yes.
It's not the same. It's not an EIN like we have, but they have something
We
they
have
have
a
to
business
attach,
number.
which is the Canadian version, and everybody was like crazed by it. They're like, "Wait, what? You're going to track what I'm making?"
Yeah, so quick summary
Whoa.
on that one. It's a business number, and you can either put your social insurance number or you could put your registered business number if you actually registered as a business.
Pretty much like it.
And exactly. But by doing that, now the companies have to declare that they've paid you. So now the CRA, which is the Canadian Revenue Agency, knows that you've been paid by, let's say, Doordash or Uber Eats, whereas before they didn't know. It was up to you as an independent contractor to declare that you made an income. So
That's the
now
Wild West.
it's insane. It's insane. And they actually mentioned that in this article, because our tax deadline for regular non-business people was April 30th. And if you own a business, it's supposed to be June 15th, but that falls on a weekend. So
that
put it
made me
June
crazy
17th.
too. I was reading that and I'm like going, wait, what?
Yeah,
June?
it's really complicated.
And I also saw something about Valentine's Day. Is Valentine's Day coming up for you guys?
No, it's February
Okay,
14th.
good. Thank God.
Yeah,
'Cause
no,
I was
that's
like,
the same.
what are
That's
you
the same
talking
as everybody.
I mean, they believe
The
in
getting
Saint
cut-
Valentine on the same day as we do.
Is that just a slap in our face? We'll celebrate it in July, dude.
That would be so weird.
Yeah,
But the thing
these
with the tax deadline is that April 30th, it's the tax deadline for every regular person. However, if you own a business and you owe money to the CRA, your deadline for payment is April 30th. So explain to me how that really makes sense. Technically, you can file it until June 17th, but if you owe them money, you have to pay them by April 30th. So that's one thing
the
that
same
was
way it works in the U.S. though. Like taxes are due when they're due, but if you don't pay, then you get penalties, even if you got an extension.
Okay, let me break that down. Why it might sound confusing to you because you don't.
well, not to me
like,
because I studied accounting. So
Well,
like,
yeah.
I
To
know
other
this
to other
off the top of my
people,
head.
it sounds crazy. Like what? That doesn't make no sense. Businesses are supposed to pay quarterly taxes, people.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
do they?
So
I'm-
to
I'm
pay
not-
by
I'm
that
not
date
dumb, I'm just
isn't that
asking.
big
Do
of a
they
deal.
up there? Do you guys
I'm terrible about that.
quarterly up there too?
So we do
Yes.
quarterly depending on your depending on the income that you have. So like let's say you have a small business, you don't have to do quarterly. And also it depends on whether you claim GST or not. So that's like a whole other thing. If you make over a certain threshold, then you're supposed to claim the taxes and pay it back to the government. If you make under that threshold, then you don't claim GST. So you won't necessarily pay quarterly because you make such a small amount.
It's
Why
the
is,
same
more,
as the-
why is
it's
it
the
more
same in
wild,
the US.
wild west with loopholes in a socialist country?
It's not though. That's exactly the same how U.S. works. If you're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna pay over $1,000 in taxes, you're supposed to file quarterly.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah, they
don't
do.
make that, then you can file at the end of the year. If you don't pay quarterly and you owe more than that at the end of the year, you now have to pay a late penalty tax because you didn't pay it throughout the year. It's
Yeah,
the same.
exactly.
It's the same in both countries.
Yeah.
I imagine they just looked at the EU, Britain, and US and just emulated after our tax systems. The IRS is the most,
Most
We
likely,
should
it's
go
been like
back
this
to
for a while
Boston
though,
and
and like
build
the
a team.
filing like fees is like 10% and all that kind of stuff. None of that is new. But one thing that they mentioned in the article was that why it's important for us is that they were saying specifically a lot of people went to the gig economy and like rideshare and all that kind of stuff to make an extra income because they thought they didn't have to claim it.
Right.
So this goes right back
That's
to
not
that video
Canadian
that
humor,
I made.
guys. This is for real.
No,
Again, yeah. A lot of Western countries are just catching up.
But that's actually just the same as the U.S. because, I mean, like we know we have to file taxes, but what a lot of people didn't understand is like until recently, the gig companies didn't even have to report our income. Like if you got paid through PayPal or, you know, Cash App or something like that, they didn't have to claim any of that stuff because the companies
under
didn't
a
have
certain
to.
threshold.
Right, until recently. And I think it was like $20,000 or something like that.
It was like 19,000 something. Yeah.
Yeah, but now recently,
if you have a garage sale,
now
over
it's
$600.
$600. Yeah, if you get $600 on
if
any
you have a garage
platform,
sale, you have to claim it.
And
Canada's Legos and some dirt.
And Canada's actually just catching up faster than the other countries, honestly, to the U.S. rules.
I mean,
go ahead.
It's just funny that many gig workers were working in the space.
Yes.
And that's what I took from the article. And they're like, wait, again, it was like a reminder of our conversation. Because I was like, wait, I did this because I don't want to pay taxes on it.
Exactly. That's exactly.
I mean, it's kind of an inside joke that this is a gig economy all over the West, and even in some second world, I'll call them. They're not quite third world, but they're not where we are. In those countries, they're having the same kind of issues, like Chile, those kind of places.
Yeah, but those countries have, our dollar falls too, but those countries have like a monetary fall that is so dramatic. It's a lot different. I mean, because I've done a lot of production work down there. Their dollar, it's worth half its value every day.
Yeah, so I know some of them have it stabilized, and some are like fall like the peso. That's
it all balances
well-known
out.
joke.
I'm just saying that.
So I mean, our currency just got devalued by probably over 30%, but that's another show.
Yeah.
I just think that it's the Wild West in some forms, and it seems like they're just like she said, they're just catching up with it. And I get in her accountant lingo. She's right on the money with that. So
here's my question for you, Sean.
Thank you.
Do you think people will stop doing gig work now out there?
I was wondering the same thing.
And here's the funny thing. So first of all, when the new law came into place where the companies had to provide the payment info that they did to independent contractors to the CRA, there was a date. And everyone was like, oh, I'm not doing it. I'm like, well, it's up to you, whatever. And then some people were like, well, I can't wait until April 1st when everyone falls off, because it was like a 90-day grace period or whatever. And then after April 1st, you saw in the Facebook groups where people were like, so how many people are left? Like, how many people are not doing it anymore? And there were some people that said they can't get on. Like they can't get on. And
I'm kind of with Gary. Like, will they say though, like, hey, this isn't worth it if I have to pay taxes on this? I was only doing this because it was barely making me anything. If I've got to pay the taxes, I'm done.
So there were some people that mentioned that as well, because they were like, if we have to pay taxes, and like depending on which province you live in, your tax rate is really high. If they're in Quebec, I could completely understand that they're like, I don't want to do this anymore because our tax rate is ridiculously high. So I know some people that said, I don't want to do this anymore if I have to pay taxes on it. I'm like, well, you should have been paying taxes already. Like, I don't understand.
I mean, do you know any gig workers who like literally called you and said, Cheyenne, did you see this thing that we got to pay taxes?
So I don't know any personally, but I got a whole bunch of emails and messages on Instagram.
But nobody you know
directly. People real upset.
Like,
or at least they went to a different group. They weren't that dumb to go to your face and go, oh my gosh, I think we got
not to my face, but this one lady emailed me and it was like a back and forth conversation because she was like, oh my God, I didn't declare like 2 years ago. What's going to happen to me? I only made like $100. And I was like, okay, calm down. Like they're not going to come and arrest you for $100, but
my guess is they wouldn't even audit you on the prior years. I mean, I wouldn't advise anybody to do anything. I don't live in Canada and I'm not taking my own advice because I don't live there, but I don't think they'll go into previous years. They're just kind of sounding the alarm like, hey guys,
I think
all that free money you've been making, like we got to take our cut.
I wouldn't
all
be
right.
surprised if they do audit you, because I know I was audited when I was in school. Because they were like, how are you working full time, but you're in school? And I was like, yes, I'm working full time, but I'm in school, you know? But I wouldn't be surprised if they do audit, because they even created, like when, you know, everything happened in 2020, there was a lot of money that was given out. And there were a lot of people that received this money that shouldn't have received this money. And they actually created like a whole department to look into this. So I'm assuming these people are still there. So they're going to put them to do something. So I'm assuming this will be the next thing that they'll tackle, because it's a big part. Like a lot of people are in the gig economy, not just like Uber or whatever, but anything where you're an independent contractor. And it's true, you have a garage sale, you're supposed to declare that.
But I was thinking for you, it's going to be great. We keep dealing with more and more oversaturation. I think you're going to see a desaturation on a major level, especially those who have full-time jobs who do this 2 nights a week.
Yes.
I don't think you're going to see that as much. They'll go, you know what? It's not, I'll break even. It's not even worth it.
Exactly. Because that's the thing. You're taxed based on your income, right? So I know, let's say if, I don't know, my boyfriend was to do this, there is no way that he would do this. No way possible, because most of it would go towards taxes. So I think for someone that works full time at a decent job on top of that, it would not be worth it for them to do gig work.
Do you guys get to claim any mileage or anything like we do?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So we claim everything. Like I claim part of the office because I do YouTube videos. Like
what do you get to claim on the mileage?
So you even get more than we do, because they extremely
we don't want to convert
limit it here. What is it per
kilometer?
kilometer?
No, we get to claim all of that. I claim my car washes because I'm like, I can't deliver in a dirty car.
What's the write-off per kilometer?
I don't remember. I use the software.
Roughly.
I use the software.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. How many miles did you drive, and roughly what did you do last year?
The same translation as leprechauns to unicorns.
70 cents per kilometer for the first 5,000 kilometers driven is what it says.
Is that what it says?
Wow. I know it's Canadian dollars. That's still incredible, because
then it's 64 per kilometer driven after that.
But everything's 8,000 miles.
That's the thing. It's so funny. My son was doing a project today for math, and he's like, "Why is Canada so big?"
And then you got to be like, well, 98% of the country nobody lives in.
Nobody lives
when
there.
They made the Earth flat. They smashed it, and it just went splat everywhere.
Like seriously, nobody lives there. 64 sounds high, but also think about it. Like just the taxes alone, it's crazy here. It's
so
yeah.
Let's let Tom say about Lyft. We're way over time.
Yeah, I know.
We're going to save it for next week. I'm just going to say this: Lyft might not totally suck right now.
Yes, they do. Don't lie.
We'll talk about it next week.
It's like Canadian taxes, dude. Don't.
We'll see.
Okay, so Tom's gonna wait. It is a good Lyft story. It is a good Lyft story, you guys. So obviously we ran out of some time. Maybe Tom will open it next week with that one, because that one might take a little minute to get into too. So we will end with this one last thing though, because we just talked about it last week, and since we have Gary here, because Gary's probably the best to explain this to us. We were talking, or it was 2 weeks ago, and we had UDM on. We were talking about bots, and oddly, I think we found ourselves getting into a conversation I didn't think we'd really ever have on this roundtable. That people in the chat, other people were like, "Yeah, I'm pro bots," or some people were like, "I use bots," or at least even if they didn't, they weren't against it. And the story that I was reading was saying that this person who used to do well on Instacart was now paying for a bot service. The one had been shut down. So in a nutshell, the way it worked was you paid $400 and they got you a bot, and then every 1,200 you made, you have to pay 150 back to the bot company, but then you had to buy a new license. So is that new license another 400?
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're taking $550 out of every 1,200 you make. Now you're probably making it a lot faster, and the person in the article said, I did really great on Instacart, now I do okay, but I started using the bots and now I'm back up to great. And that was even including all of this crap that they're stealing. So I wanted Gary to see if he could explain how bots, like as simply as possible, but understandable, how bots actually work, And why so few of them get shut down, and for every one shut down, 3 more appear, but they're very rarely shut down anyway.
Okay, the simplest way to explain a bot: you have 5 M&Ms. Cheyenne wants some of your M&Ms. Tom has a bot come over and steal your M&Ms before Cheyenne can even come get them from you.
Well, what if I've got them like in a bottle in my hand?
Doesn't matter. His bot's going to come get them.
What if I have like
China's out of luck? She can not have any M&Ms.
How are the bots going to see? I guess my point is though, like, how are the bots grabbing the orders, Gary?
The way, I mean, there's various definitions of bots. The bots, as far as the gig work goes, basically what you do is you give it your login credentials, your email, your password, your phone number, whatever. It gets the tokens
Like
from
your
the
apps.
servers. No, not like my apps.
Oh,
Very different. As I said, there's difference in them. Like the Spark bots, Instacart bots, things like that. You give them your email, your password. They log into your Instacart account, and they mimic your account. So like an Instacart bot, Instacart only allows one device signed in at a time. So if you do an Instacart bot, you're going to give it your credentials. It's going to log you out of the system and log into the system as you. Then it's going to query their server every 1 second to see if there's any new orders for you. If you've done Instacart, you know Instacart is a push system. It automatically pops up on your phone. So what they're doing is they're querying the server every second. Hey, is there any orders? Is there any orders? Is there any orders? And eventually orders pop up and it says, yes, here's some orders. And then it goes through, checks the price of the order. And it, if you set your filter to $100, let's say, it's going to grab that order for you instantly. So before it even gets sent to Cheyenne's phone, someone else has already got it.
Okay, but so if I'm paying for the bot service, let's say I do have the ability to set some thresholds or whatever, it's grabbing them and it's saying, here you go, you have to take it.
Well, it's grabbing them based off the parameter.
Right, but I have to take it, obviously, because it grabbed it. It has to associate it to something.
Assign it from
Right, but I mean, without that, I mean, it's literally been assigned to me.
Right. It tells the server, hey, we'll use Cheyenne, for example. If she's using one, it's going to say, hey, Cheyenne is going to take this. So that means Tom, he might even see it pop up on his phone, and it's going to instantly go away. So he can be like, whoa, there was an order, now there's not an order.
Right.
So I could put it this way too. Like you set your parameters like you do on and if it's $6, it's going to auto accept it. Like that's how Wordell works.
Difference. This is why I said it's different than my apps, because my apps don't query the server to take orders away from other people. That's not how my apps work.
Yeah.
So an actual true bot for the gig economy, it can only work for apps that are first come, first serve for starters. So it can't work on Doordash. It can't work on Uber direct
It can
orders.
a little bit with those stupid.
With the radars, it can. It cannot work on direct system orders. It can't work on Lyft unless it's a radar or reservations.
But like we said, with radar is where bad offers go to die.
Radar is just like Instacart's first come first serve system. So basically, a bot can only truly work like to increase your orders that you get on first come first serve systems. Instacart, Spark are the main 2 bots that people use. Amazon, Instacart, Spark, and Amazon are the 3 main bots that people buy, because those are first come first serve systems, and they're probably some of the easiest to get into.
So yeah, I get like what you mean by that, and I find it hilarious, and Gary can attest to this. All these IG bots and the fake tech bots and whatever that post on and comment on all these Facebook threads, I'm always touting, hey, just go download Duh and Maximo. It's just make your life a lot easier for yourself. And these are the real thing, and it's tax write-off versus I don't know.
Yeah, and that's here's what I don't understand this, because then people come back and they say, well, I don't know how I got hacked. Well, I mean, you go sign up for a bot service, you don't know who created it, for one. You're randomly sending money off to a Cash App or a PayPal, and you don't even know who created it. You know, if
Yeah,
if you
I've
can't
seen-
see a public face of someone that uses software, don't use their software. If
I've
they're
seen
going
one-
by
And
Ranger,
I saw some of the
on
bot
Discord,
some of the
yeah.
bot companies actually need your username password.
All of them do. All the actual
And that's
bots,
like ridiculous, dude.
yeah, all the actual bots have to use your account because, like I said, they log in as you. Is how they work. That's how they
Right.
actually work. They
I guess
log
what I'm
in
saying is
as
you're
you.
not doing it through like some secure socket where they're not seeing it and it's encrypted. You have to give it to them.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to say
Well-
it's not secure because I don't know because I haven't tested
Sure.
every software out
Right.
there.
There might be some that aren't.
Right, but
I'm sure there are some that are.
Typically,
But
how it works is they fool the system. They log into your account with your username, password, and then they get authorization tokens and refresh tokens. Using those two tokens and typically like a session ID or a device ID, something along those lines is how they work. They don't actually use your email and password except for to send it to the company to get the authorization requirements. And then once they have the authorization requirements, they can just pretend to be you all the time. So, especially like I know recently, and I say recently within the last year, there was one guy on Discord and he was selling his bot system for $1,000 a person. And then
I think we all know, I won't say.
and people were paying it, and then his system shut down, and he goes, "Oh well, I can't do it because of this. So everybody, you got to keep paying me, and so I can buy this." And he ended up scamming people for like $30,000.
I'm with Gary.
Basically.
Look, guys, I mean, like, even if you're thinking about it, like, wait, bots can make you more money. Don't do it. Just don't do it. If you're at that point, move
not
on to
worth
a
it.
new app or move on to a new job or find something else to do because you're literally like, we talk about privacy and can't be off the radar anymore. Nothing's secure really, but things are to a level secure. Like, don't be like giving your account info out. Next thing you know, you won't be able to even log in and they'll sell it to somebody.
Well, here's the thing: if you get caught using a bot, you're going to be deactivated.
Right.
The reason why a lot of people don't get caught is because the companies are trying to focus on the people creating the bots versus the people using the bots because they know that they have a flawed system. They know because they hire people.
But the
from,
orders
like,
go out
Vegas.
quicker.
Right, but see, here's the thing though: they hire people in Vegas that do the gaming stuff to figure out how can I get Tony and Cheyenne to compete against each other to accept low ball orders. If people are using bots, they're not taking low offer orders. They're only taking high offer orders. But if they can gamify the system and make Tony and Cheyenne compete against each other, Tony might get a high paying order every now and then, but Cheyenne's going to keep accepting these low paying offers, hoping that she's going to get a higher one later.
Wow.
And so that's why they don't actually shut down people's accounts all the time unless it's blatant. They're trying to fix their own.
You just described DoorDash's tier system to a T.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
is.
but the other thing,
I'll tell you
too,
that right now.
I mean, the other
The
thing
question,
too is that you'd have
Gary-
to. It gets complicated too. I'm sure Gary knows this. That because if they do want to deactivate you on that point alone, they have to prove that you're in bed with that company. Because otherwise, I mean, like I could have a company, I could just be dishing you out orders, and you're like, dude, I didn't even do anything. Why am I getting all these?
Right.
And then
Well,
you should. I
here's
shouldn't
the
be
thing.
penalized if I'm not involved with that.
Right. Here's the thing, because if they shut down, if they deactivate Tony, suspicion of using a bot, but then all he did was log into a legit service like Gridwise, for example, to track his earnings, but then some other person's trying to mimic being Tony and steal orders or Tony might not do Instacart anymore and his information got leaked out somehow. And so now somebody else is using that account. Well,
Right. They're stealing his M&Ms from Gridwise.
Right. Exactly. So, it might not be Tony. So do they want, 10,000 people doing arbitration, which now costs the company even more money?
It's pretty freaking hilarious to me that like these apps partner with like Gridwise when it's a direct violation of their own TOS.
Well, they don't actually partner with Gridwise. I'll tell you that right now. They don't. Everybody uses Argyle. Argyle does partner with some legit companies, and then some they just force their way in.
Well, they advertise with them. I know that.
Right. But I'm saying they don't all partner up. But it is a direct violation of their own terms of service. Even using, if you didn't notice, using Google Maps is a direct violation from all the gig apps terms of services. Every one of them.
DoorDash usually literally uses Google Maps in app.
Yeah, but it's against their terms of
Because
service.
they know their app sucks.
Yeah, it is actually against their own
Uber
terms of
Maps
service.
sucks. Oh
Now,
my
the
God, the
question,
pins on
Gary,
Uber here are awful.
The question
I think-
is,
I
if
think-
I get a Tesla bot, can I buy a bot to make my Tesla bot?
Hey, you know what? You know what, Tony? Because like I know you got a Tesla, and you've asked me this before, and then Josh B, he got a Tesla recently too. So he's like, "Hey, I need navigation for my Tesla and everything." Tesla actually just recently released a developer's API so that I can actually use your credentials and connect to your Tesla.
Can you drive it like a game
now.
from home?
Actually,
Full self-driving? You mean full Gary driving?
Yeah, well, that's
driving your car.
that's
Denver
the thing.
from
Like
Florida.
one of the features is the API that I can use as a developer is I can call your car. I told Josh, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna call Josh's car from my house, and he goes, "How are you gonna charge it away?" I said, "That's not important. I'll just let it drive 400 miles towards my house and die."
All right.
I gotta say, guys, we've ran way over, but we had a lot of guests here tonight.
I gotta run.
I'm bummed that we didn't get a Tom story, but we're gonna sign us out here. I will end it with this comment before Bud Soda leaves, because Ceci made one. Hi, Ceci. It's been a minute. She made one of the best comments.
Thank you. Thank you.
What was his name? Who had the flowing blonde? Fabio.
Fabio.
Right?
Yeah, my hairdresser says the
He's no
same
longer
exact
Bud
thing,
Soda.
Ceci.
He's Fabio.
My hairdresser said, "Oh my God, your hair is so thick and luscious." I'm like, my hairline's still receding. It's just the thick and luscious part that's hiding it.
So
I gotta make an appointment with her. Right. Peace out, guys.
So yeah, a quick plug here, you guys. Check out Rideshare Rodeo audio podcast. Check out Kim's Side Money Plans audio podcast. Check out Gig Economy podcast audio, and check out the new Mike Karubi podcast that I helped him set up, the Be My Own Boss audio podcast. All just start on Spotify. Mine's on all of them worldwide. Some are on, Kim's are on some, and on getting on more. Jason's are on a lot. Mike's is only on a few right now. But that's a wrap for the week. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, everyone, for watching live or on the replay. See you back here next week. And until then, be safe, earn smart, and do not be a dick. Peace, y'all.
Have a good night.
And
she was just a baby.